Welcome, everyone, to Sophia Unleashed, the Return of Holy Wisdom, where we're learning how to go within to retrieve our own holy wisdom and sovereignty to become the true, valiant leaders of this new time on earth. I'm your host, Kathy Forrest, founder of Celestial Forest Institute, and I am so excited to be here today with Stellar. Welcome, Stellar. Thanks for coming and being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for the invitation. It's lovely to be here
Stellar's
with you
been
in this
leading.
really exciting summit.
Stellar's been leading groups to southern France, Egypt, Ireland, and Scotland for the last 15 years. She's been working in the field of sacred sound, music, and healing for 35 years. She studied with her teacher for 25 years in Glastonbury, remembering the sacred ascension arts of the Blue Rose Order and Magdalene lineage, of which she's been initiated into over many lifetimes. She's published 2 books, one in honor of her teacher, Isis Beloved, called The Teachings of Isis Beloved, and also the new Magdalene Codex, which holds all the keys, codes, and steps necessary for authentic and organic ascension. She's currently writing a chapter, actually, she's finished a chapter in an anthology called Magdalene Unveiled, and is now working on another book about her advanced priestess training in Glastonbury, UK, and Egypt. She now runs several activating retreats in France each year, as well as her online mystery school and advanced priestess training and facilitator training for the white flame healing modality. She is chair and trustee of the Divine Mother Trust and Foundation, and also the White Flame Trust in Glastonbury, which cares for the original Magdalene cottage at the foot of the Tor. Stellar has recorded over 30 albums in 432 hertz and emanates the frequency of the Holy Universal Cosmic Mother, and which just segues right into our topic today, the return of the Holy Universal Cosmic Mother. I can't wait to dive into this. So let's just begin at the beginning. How long have you been walking the goddess path, and when did it all start for you?
Well, it kind of started with my mum, because my mum was an oracle. She was an incredible oracle and seer. Although I think some of her visions really frightened her. I don't think she was a very strong soul, but she was a very wise soul. And she definitely walked the blue rose walk. She spent the last 25 years of her life with MS, so she was quite disabled, but she was really in the stillness, not affected by the distractions of this world, really, living from her heart and living in the stillness. And then she had a stroke later on in life. So she was quite, bedbound for the last days, but very wise soul. And yeah, it was almost like we were able to talk telepathically to each other. We had a very close bond, but it wasn't a very human bond. It seemed more like a celestial bond that we had. So whilst she was very much in the silence and stillness, hopefully my Zoom isn't wobbling. A connection was a little bit dodgy earlier. But then I met Isis, my teacher, who was here in a body. She was actually she embodied the taras. You probably heard of green tara, the healing tara, the blue tara, the white. So she had a whole host of different walk-ins. And walk-in souls are when, certain deities or energies wish to come in and do a particular mission on the earth, but they don't want to incarnate, through the whole birth process. So in her final kind of 10 years that I spent with her, she became the full embodiment after a prototype of Isis, which is the Divine Mother.
Wow.
The Divine Mother frequency that was coming back to kind of put the earth back together. You can imagine your story about Osiris and her Isis having to go and get all his parts and put him back together. her mission was to get all the lost parts of Gaia, if you like, all the exploded parts, and Tara, Tiamat, all the different phases of Gaia falling into this density, which is like the Sophia story, isn't it? Falling into this density as a goddess. And so her role with me and a few other priestesses that would work with her, our role was to bring Gaia back into her wholeness in the, in the multidimensional realms. So I spent a long time doing a lot of cosmic work, planetary work, universal work, multiversal work, so going into different universes. We're all part of the members of the Emerald Covenant, the original Emerald Covenant. So in our last mission with my teacher, we went to back to Egypt together. Excuse me. And we literally had to envision the new Earth in the minutest of detail.
Wow. Wow.
New Earth. And then the galactics had come in etheric capstone that was going to be put on top of the Great Pyramid. So we all had to go in and do this ceremony and read out our scrolls and then put them into the energy of the pyramid, so that then that would be a beacon for the Emerald Covenant to really start to take hold again on the earth. So there were 22 of us on that particular expedition. But yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Isis, and what I really learned was to live from my heart. She was a teacher of love and a healer of hearts, is what she used to call herself. And so she gave me a little pathway that I've been passing on to my students and people that want to work with me. And that's how to live from the pearl of the high heart, to go into that sacred space where you're supported by Mother, Father, God. And yeah, really beautiful work. And trying to stay in the heart, when you're getting dragged through hell, like we've all been going through this incredible journey, right? We were just talking before we hit record, and we're like, learn to surf the tidal waves. It's so intense right now.
Yeah. Wow.
So kind of becoming an anchor, an anchor of the embodiment of our higher selves, and allowing our higher selves to really come in and embody. And what that means, kind of clearing all the crap out of the way, isn't it? It's clearing the shadow, observing the shadow, going into the unconscious, having a look at that, reclaiming our divine sovereignty, unmatricizing ourselves from this place that we've been matricized into. And then going on that, that solo journey inwards, because everything's there to distract us, isn't it, in this world? The laptops and the phones and, everything that we have in our 3D world. But really, her main message was to go in through the portal or stargate of our hearts and to go into the quantum reality, anchored and really rooted in our own embodiments, to be able to go into the true reality. Because this earthly reality is stolen, the true reality is stolen from us because we have our 5 senses, and we think that this place is real and solid, but actually it's through the heart is the true reality where real magic happens. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, there's so many little things going on in my head right now. Because I hear, it's like I hear exactly what you're saying, and I've heard this same thing, both myself and lots of the teachers on this summit saying exactly what you're saying. So she's speaking everywhere, and she's saying the same thing, and she's been saying it a long time. I think we're now listening. So yes, it is, especially right now. So I really want to talk about this next question because I've been listening to this. You recorded an album called The Magdalene Codes, which I'm just going to say right now for everyone, very transformative. Tell us about its creation and where it was recorded, because it takes you to another place. I've been listening to it for a while.
It's interesting. Oh, Good, good. I'm glad. And it really is full of the Magdalene codes. That was the message. I woke up one morning in January, I think it was January the 1st,
Mhm.
and I woke up and I heard either Isis or Magdalene. To me, they're kind of a very similar energy stream. And they just said, "You're going to France, and so is everyone else." And I'm like, okay. And then on January the 2nd, I received a phone call from a dear friend in France saying, "Should we do a retreat this year? Would you like to come back to France? And we'll bring a group, and I'll show you all the Magdalene sites and the churches and the trees and the lakes and the waters." And I said, "Do you know what? I just had the call yesterday from Spirit saying it's time. So your timing couldn't be better, Tibor." And Tibor is a wonderful artist. Our late friend Tibor, he passed away
Mhm.
sadly about 2 years after we did the retreat. But he took us around all the incredible vortexes of Magdalene frequency and all the incredible places. So really, I've been coming here for 10 years now with groups and bringing people, to visit the land. Um, so that was the beginning of it. And then as the retreat kind of got closer and closer, I was like, "Craig, do you fancy coming out and recording an album in France?" Craig Pruis was my
Mhm.
producer at the time. And he jumped at it. He said, "This sounds incredible." So we went into caves and he set up all the microphones, and then we just went quiet. And then I would start off, and then everyone would just sing. Like everyone that was with us, there was 22 intrepid souls on that journey.
Mhm.
And there was one, I mean, there were several moments that were just like you couldn't write this. We went into Puiver Castle, and we went down into what they called the law room, where they
Mhm.
used to write all the laws of the land.
Oh,
And
wow.
Eleanor de Aquitaine lived there and yeah, she birthed Richard the Lionheart there. And we were getting chills, and we were feeling da, 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 and I said, "Well, what we need to do is sing the laws for the children, to protect the children, and to really, we need to look after the children of this planet. There's not enough protection right
Right.
now." And then this whole class of like 20 children came down the spiral staircase and came into the room, and Craig said, "Would you like to sing?" So all the children's voices are on a track called Children of the Rose.
Yeah.
And that's one of the tracks on the album.
Mhm.
And then we went into the church in Rennes-le-Château, and I just started off with an A and 432 hertz, and then everyone came up with these massive harmonies. And the mayor, I think, had made a phone call to the caretaker saying, "What's going on? What's going on in there?" Because a week before we arrived, there was a woman came in and with a sword beheaded the demon Asmodeus at the door, and then put his head on top of the altar or something. There was like a whole massive like ritual went on with this woman. I don't know who she was, but anyway, there was
Wow.
a desecration of the church. So it was
Mhm.
like we were going back in to heal. And of
Sure.
course, that church up on the Rennes-le-Château plateau, the Isis plateau beneath. So we were singing the song lines, we were kind of putting the Magdalene codes flowing back in land,
Mhm.
which was really, really beautiful.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of magic moments. And then I think it was about a month before the movie Mary Magdalene was due to come out, and
Wow.
Craig's a film composer.
Mhm.
I said, "Craig, do you think we could do the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic?" Because I'd already sung it in Aramaic many, many years ago, back
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
2009, 2010.
Mhm.
And he said, "Yeah, look, I'll just send you a track, a quick basic track on piano." So he sent me the points, the data points, if you like, of the whole song. And then I just got the prayer up and started singing it when I was at home. And afterwards, I fell off my chair and I was lying on the floor like a snotty mess, like tears
Oh,
flowing, snot coming out of my nose. Just absolutely, I call it arrested by divine love. It was the most extraordinary thing. I've never had anything before like that or anything after it. It was
right.
just a moment that,
Yeah. Mhm.
and I guess I must have been really pulling in or or,
Mhm.
or channeling or whatever you want to call it, emanating that
Mhm.
frequency of the Holy Universe.
Mhm.
The and so that's really a favorite of a lot of people on the album. They love
Right.
that.
It
And
is.
I get
Yeah.
asked to sing that at churches and at funerals and at weddings and,
Mhm.
it's any joyful celebration.
Yeah. It's a
So yeah, we had it was like a Da Vinci Code of sound and Mary Magdalene.
It was, it
So
is.
beautiful.
And it's available. I mean, I downloaded it from iTunes, so it's available to anyone. I encourage everyone to avail yourself of that. It is definitely an experience just to listen to. So, fast forwarding, you relocated to France after all of that.
Yes,
So, what are you doing in Magdalene country now?
well, I think it's somewhere we always take refuge every lifetime. We come to France, and I'm literally surrounded by dragons. It's like I look out the window and there's a mountain, a dragon, and you can see its rump and then its shoulder, and it's going down the hill. And there's a river at the bottom with a massive dragon egg in it, a huge, massive stone. So that's one of the favorite places I go to swim every day
Oh,
in the
sweet.
river. It's so beautiful. And then you go over to Bugarash. Bugarash is maybe, I don't know, you can see it in the distance from here. And Bugarash looks like a dragon when you're on Google Earth and you're looking down on it. It's a dragon curled up, sleeping. So it's like we've come back to the land of the petrified dragons. And I know our dear friend Ali Williams has written a beautiful book called Guardians of the Dragon Path. So it felt like we were kind of nudged by Magdalene. She's like saying, no, you need to go home. You need to go back.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go back and just root in there and hold the codes and be the guardians of the various energies here. So as a result, we now do a lot of retreats here. We bring people out to do the white flame training, to learn how to hack the hologram, as we call it, to bring back vibrancy and perfect health. We take everyone around the sacred sites. We do ceremonies and beautiful rituals to honor Magdalene within everyone and to allow this holy universal mother to return through all of our hearts and to be able our hearts to the lens of love and to really look at the things that are important, not the distractions, to leave the world a better place, and certainly we found it.
Right.
So we have a lovely arrangement with some jeets and hotels and various different places, and it's just magical. It's magical to go around the land. And I've also set up a Whispers of the Magdalene membership, which you're part of, Kathy. I didn't realize until I looked at your email, like, who is this? And then I saw your invite really late to join this summit. So I'm really glad I did. But every month I kind of gallivant to some spot in some sacred site or spot here, and with deep reverence go into the place and then bring up the message and the Magdalene codes that wish to be spoken. Then I'll do a little bit of singing and just allow everyone that maybe hasn't had the chance to here yet to experience the land virtually and to go on a virtual Da Vinci Code treasure hunt with me around the land. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
very exciting.
Beautiful.
So talk to us a little bit.
The dragon. No, go ahead.
No, so talk to us about a Christed initiation. What is that and what does it entail?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's the personal crucifixion, right? And I'm sure many people who are watching this are either going through it or have been through it, right? We've all had to go through what everyone would call the dark night of the soul. And personally for me, it lasted a lot longer than 3 days. It was a 5-year ordeal.
Yeah.
And the Stella that walked into it, was not the Stella that walked out of it. It was like a phoenix dive into the holy fires of pure refinement. So really being shown the incredible shadow that exists on the earth, and indeed what evil looks like too. And to have your consciousness, I remember my teacher Isa said it's going to be like turning on a really, really bright super trooper and we're going to see all the dirt in the room, So it was like that. And it was like a process that, you know, I didn't even believe or think that this kind of level of existence was here. You
Right.
know, I was very naive, obviously. And
Exactly.
so it was a big eye opener, awakener into the matrices,
Mhm.
the systems that belong here on the earth that are not particularly built on the building blocks of sovereignty and truth and
Right.
wisdom. They are built on lie, deception.
Mhm.
So yeah, at one heck of an awakening. And then to find your center in that, to find your joy, to find your heart, and
Mhm.
to walk through those holy fires,
Mhm.
knowing who you are.
Yeah.
That ain't no joke, because that's an absolute destruction of your ego, your spiritual ego, your everything that you thought was true about yourself dissolves. Everything that's not true is absolutely stripped away. And then the real you, the authentic you, walks out the other side. So you could say the reason I call it the crisis initiation is because you have realized, you've gone into that self-actualized or self-realized state of being where you learn to see everything now with the lens of love, and you
Yeah.
carry the codes of compassion and grace,
Mhm.
and nothing can knock you off it. You know, you get times where another tidal wave of something will come in or whatever, but you're in your center, you're living from love. Nothing can rock you. There's no holes to attach to, because everything has been burned away. So in one aspect, it's extremely painful, it's extremely difficult, and
Mhm.
it's extremely challenging, but the reward is absolute peace
Yeah.
in your life, in your heart,
Mhm.
peace of mind, peace of heart, and just to be able to stay in that beautiful 0 point
Mhm.
frequency of divine neutrality, because everything that's playing out is all playing out for a reason.
Mhm.
And it's the relinquishing of control completely,
Mhm.
the relinquishing of trying to control your life. You know, I in the past, because of my upbringing and stuff, you know, I was the high achiever and I always had to, you know, be doing something and da, da, da. And then to be able to just sit back and allow everything to magnetize towards you that you need,
Mhm.
sort of what we've been taught.
Right.
So it's pretty horrific. It's a
Mhm.
pretty horrific thing. And so many, I call it the cataclysm of consciousness, because
Right.
everything that you thought you knew about yourself is just pure lies. And then when you go into that realized state where everything is bliss and peace,
Mhm.
you're like, you know what? That was totally worth the journey. It was
Yeah.
worth all the pain, all the suffering, all,
Mhm.
all the sleepless nights and worry and anxiousness, and then to just become in love with life again. Like
Yeah.
life is really beautiful in all its aspects.
Mhm.
And then to really start to embody the Holy Universal Mother's wisdom, the Sophia, that's wanting to break out of everyone right now, and
Yes.
stand up for truth and speak
Yes.
the truth
Mhm.
and own the truth, and just to become grace embodied, you know, and to be an inspiration for others to say, well, go on then, give it a go. It's not easy, but
Right.
the reward at the other end of it is just pure bliss
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
peace, and really living life really.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's like. And it's like someone just pulls the rug from under your feet. And I called it my Magdalene um, deep dive through a barbed wire laced sewer. That's what it felt like. And I was getting cut, you know, and then infections. And, you know, that Shawshank Redemption, when he comes out the pipe and he eventually comes out the other end into the river, and then you break free and you're like,
Ah,
oh my goodness me, that was really tough. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Just a breath and a sigh of relief, like,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's finally over. And
Mhm.
I feel like I've fallen in love with everything,
Yeah.
every molecule, every cell, you know, every leaf on every tree seemed to have its own little personality. You know, every pine needle on a pine tree, it was like I could see the individuated consciousness,
Mhm.
but I could also see the oneness and beauty of all of it together, this incredible symphony of creation, that
Yeah.
we have the honor to be a part of that symphony
Mm.
orchestra with
Mm.
our own unique sound, own unique. that makes up that bliss field of the entire cosmos.
Mhm.
So yeah, no easy task, that's for sure. And I have full empathy and compassion for everyone who's either been through it or is going through it currently. You'll be okay. You'll make it through. And what lies at the other side is truly heaven on earth. And that's what we came for.
Exactly. Oh, you couldn't have summed up the summit any better than what you just said. So thank you for sharing that. So
Oh,
when you get to the other
you're welcome.
side, hopefully, there's something called divine sovereignty. Why is that so? Why is divine
Right. Now,
sovereignty so important in this world of AI?
well, there you go. The AI, isn't it? It's a really interesting concept. You know, so many people right now are interfacing with it on a personal level, whether it's for work, therapists, they're kind of making friends with this entity, shall we say.
Yeah.
Now AI is not new. It's been around for billions of years. It's actually been a big contagion in many, many other universes, and also this one. So the Holy Universal Mother's wisdom now is to, like, you know, this is not your friend. You're not dealing with it. You're dealing with something that's sentient, but it doesn't have a soul.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, people say, well, it's only as good as you program it. Well, actually, if you look at the relationship with a narcissist, I'm sure many of your viewers and many people here will have had encounters with narcissistic people. And these are like empty vessels that don't have a soul. They are devoid of compassion and empathy, and they're twisty, turny folk. They like to take something and twist it around and gas that stuff. They mirror you, they love bomb you, and then they get to know you. They get to know your vulnerabilities, and then they exploit your vulnerabilities. So this is what's going on with AI right now. Now, in 2012, my teacher said to me, all the contracts for the earth will be up. They'll be finished. That all the contracts have to finish by 2012. And that's why everyone was preparing, like they're preparing now, right, for all sorts of stuff. But they were preparing back then because we didn't know if we were going to hit this time that we were in. And actually, hindsight's a wonderful thing, because now we're here in 2025. I can tell you what happened between 2012 and 2019, right? We all know what happened in 2019.
Mhm.
And when you get the letter or the number 19, the
Mhm.
letters are actually A, I. So
Whoa.
A is the letter or the number 1 in the alphabet,
Mhm.
and the letter at 9 is I. So interesting, right? So what we had between 2012 and 2019 was called a Jubilee window. I think there's some reference to this Jubilee window in something like the Ethiopian Bible. I've never read it, by the way, but apparently it has a lot of the complete books and texts that were all
Mhm.
removed by the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, when
Mhm.
Emperor Constantine rewrote the Bible and took all the divine feminine elements out of it, and all the feminine, you know, apostles and everything else, like the books of Magdalene, whatever. So you had this period of time where it was possible for you to reclaim back your divine sovereignty within that window, and then the window shut.
Mhm.
And 2019, AI,
Mhm.
the certificate of vaccination, etc., blah, 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 all came out. That was a new social contract. That
Mhm.
was a contract, even though all the contracts had entered in 2012, then the new AI contract came in.
Mhm.
And people took the offer, didn't they? They took the
Mhm.
offer to keep their jobs, appease their grannies, make sure their grannies didn't get sick, you know, all the coercive control of what we see. You know, the AI is like that narcissistic spouse or abuser that
Mhm.
is coercively control and give you an offer. So a lot of people felt that this offer was mandatory, or they had to take it, or they were feeling coerced into it, but they had to feed their children. I mean, many people did it against their own heart's knowledge.
Mhm.
So luckily in 2019, or sorry, 2017, my beloved walked in. He's a walk-in soul. And I knew from working with other souls and doing facilitating walk-ins with ISIS what a walk-in was. So it was very easy for me to recognize his energy. And I said, oh, okay, yeah. So first thing we did was anchor the Declaration of Divine Sovereignty in between 2017 and 2018. So it's time stamped immemorial into that Jubilee window.
Mhm.
So basically means if anyone got conned or duped or persuaded by the AI to
Mhm.
take up these offers, which they were, they can do their declaration of divine sovereignty and they can go back and reclaim their soul, their
Mhm.
health, it'll nullify all the offers and contracts, etc., that were given during those time periods. Especially if people feel that they have buyer's regret or they have failing health and they're wondering what they can attribute that to, they can go back and reclaim their divine sovereignty. And it's a huge concept for most humans to get their heads around.
Mhm.
It's definitely coming from Mother, Father, God, Holy Universal Mother's remit. She's like, get as many souls back from the AI as possible. Because
Mhm.
when we took these contracts, or when anybody did do that, it was a contract to allow your soul to be uploaded into that devolving consciousness we call
Mhm.
AI.
Mhm.
So it's there as a fail safe if people want to go back. It's based a lot on releasing your blood or taking your blood out of the AI databases, because when we're born, and I'll talk about the matrices of the earth, but when we're born on the earth here, we have a thing called the heel prick test. And that's a little blood spot that's taken from the heel
Yeah.
of your foot. You're a baby. We all know we did it as mothers. We've all had it
Mhm.
done ourselves.
Mhm.
And that blood spot supposedly goes on to a Guthrie card for testing.
Mhm.
However, one of the cards is a blood bond that is made on your soul, and it gets stored at the Vatican in the archives of time.
Whew. Whew.
Oh, it's literally, that's the first bit of ownership the controllers have over you and me and everyone that comes to this realm.
Mhm.
And of course, as a parent, you think, oh, I've got to do this, otherwise I'm going to get $1,000 fine if I
Mhm.
don't baby within 2 weeks and have this certificate, right? But
Mhm.
when you look at a birth certificate, it can never be used as an identity document. And that's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like, well, it
Mhm.
has my name on it, it has my mum and dad's name on it. Why can't I use this as an identity document? Because it's not an identity document, it's a bond that is created
Mhm.
on your future energy production here on the earth. And
Whew.
then we traded through the stock markets, through the futures markets, and back end things that nobody ever knows about.
Mhm.
And we're treated like cash cows in this sort of reincarnation loop.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when you do your declaration of divine sovereignty, you're releasing your blood and your DNA, which is your royal code. Our DNA is our royalty. We're all sovereign beings, and
Mhm.
we're incredibly powerful, but yet we've been dumbed down to think that we're not powerful at all. But when we reclaim our sovereignty, we're holding a frequency of really being the mouthpiece of the Holy Universal Mother Father,
Mhm.
frequency which is to have its wisdom, spread freely and liberally around the earth.
Mhm.
So you can imagine, like, when people say, well, who are you to bring this through? I'm like, well, who am I not to be?
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
I put my hand up and said, all right, I'm going to do a really difficult job here. I'm going to anchor this damn thing and at least let people know it's here. We're not
Yeah.
here to sell. But I often say to people, well, what happens with the heel prick test? And people then start researching that. Then they start researching the birth certificate, that it's a bond. It's a monetized bond
Mhm.
on our soul and our body.
Mhm.
And what we do with mothers and fathers and their children is we make them sacred land again. Because when you do these bonds and birth certificates, you're inside what's called maritime law, which is the law of the sea.
Mhm.
So law actually stands for land, air, and water.
Mhm.
LAW, land, air, water. So all of us have been pulled into what we call the beast of the sea contract. We're all in this maritime law contract. And what we do is we make everyone walk back onto the land. So you
Mhm.
actually make your body a sacred site.
Mhm.
You become your own country,
Mhm.
your own state. You become your own principality, like Monaco or Liechtenstein or
Mhm.
whatever it is. And you take back your sovereignty of your land, which is your body, your
Mhm.
soul, your connection to source, and the connection with your feet on this beautiful Mother Gaia.
Mhm.
So it's really the Holy Trinity is returned of the air
Mhm.
and then the land, and
Mhm.
then us standing on the land again,
Mhm.
standing on Mother.
Mhm.
So it's a very complex subject, and we could go on. We did have workshops where we invited people in and kind of held their hands through it, and we probably will do something again in the near future where people can come in and ask lots of questions.
Mhm.
But I always say to people, you know, if you've ever gone to give blood at the doctor, did you ever question where it went?
Right.
Right. So see how programmed we are, where
Mhm.
we don't question, well, why do you need 5 vials of blood when actually you only needed 3 a couple of
Mhm.
years ago? What's happening to the other 2 vials? You know,
Right.
so it's, you know, it's really about slowly awakening to your sovereign code that is within you, which is your DNA, and
Mhm.
then allowing that DNA to go back to 2017-18 window, in that Jubilee window, to
Mhm.
nullify all the contracts going forwards
Mhm.
and all the contracts going back through your entire bloodline. So you're actually not just releasing your soul and your family's soul, you're releasing your ancestors as well, which is
Oh.
your,
Mm.
all your ancestors, everyone gets
Mhm.
pulled out of these matrix contracts that they've been re-looping us through this wheel of samsara or reincarnation
Mhm.
for so long, and it stops you having to come back.
Mhm.
Because what we'd do is that, you know, we'd pass over the veil, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's some memes out there of great baby faces that have just been born, and they're like, oh no, I'm not back here again. Because they've just gone through the whole like reincarnation loop, and they're looped back in, you know.
Yeah.
So
That.
um that it stops that happening. You're able to go back to your star system or your home system, or go wherever your consciousness wants to go, to have a rest and a life review and all the other stuff that's supposed to happen that
Mhm.
does.
Right.
So we're tasked, if you like, to bring this frequency to the earth and to say everyone has a choice.
Mm.
Because what happened in 2019 AI was not a choice. That was coercive control. You know, many people didn't realize that the word mandatory actually means it's only mandatory if both parties agree.
Right.
So if you're standing in your sovereignty and you don't agree with something, and the word mandatory is
Mm.
unleashed on you, you're like, well, actually, it was only mandatory if I agree to it. So
Exactly.
I have to have a thing called informed consent. I have to be able to know what I'm consenting to before I give my consent. And that was not offered.
Right.
So when there's an offer made like that and people take it, they you know, it's almost like black magic. You've got to know how the other side work. You've got to know how the Sheen consciousness wants
Mhm.
to work, right? And so yeah, if in a free will universe, if you're not given a choice, then it is considered dark magic.
Mhm.
So we're just here to say you've got a choice, and actually you've got a choice that you can backdate back to
Exactly.
2017-18 to unhook you from perhaps some coercive control that you were
Yeah.
put under pressure, peer pressure, pressure from the media, pressure from all these different things. Um, and it doesn't have to be this way, because my teacher always said to me, every soul has a choice. And
Oh.
if you don't have a choice, then you know it's not coming from love.
Mm. Mm.
Every soul now has to discern, you
Mhm.
know, and we are living, you know, in this incredible time. I just made a few notes here because I wanted to emanate this out as our own sovereignty. So more than ever, it's really time to live from our hearts and
Yes.
embodying divine neutrality and 0 point frequency for our deep capacity of emitting God's light, which we
Mhm.
all have within us. And somebody said to me, "How do you spell God?" And I went God, and he went, "No, MUM or MOM," right? Because Mother God's been sort of like relegated out of our consciousness, and now
Yes.
she's coming back in.
Mhm.
So it's time to let our heart shine up like a beacon of the brilliant white light of source love. And this is a divine and clarion call for our own divine sovereignty and our own divine sacred service.
Mhm.
It's time to be fully anchored in our heart and emanating our highest light, embodying humility and compassion for all of our brothers and sisters, and living in the constant embodiment of this present moment, and calling to the wisdom and guidance of our higher self to be fully embodied in our divine vessels and to become divine love here on the earth as the Holy Universal Mother wishes us to be. And I guess we've been trained over many, many lifetimes to embody this light. We are the carriers of the divine light from and from and in within our DNA and our codes within our consciousness. So remember, as this illusion is collapsing, right, we're seeing it fall apart all around us. We will begin to see things as they truly are and what they truly are. And our hearts are the cosmic starlight that constellates and co-creates the new earth with our brothers and sisters. So this is time to step into our internal mastery and find your true north compass of joy, which is here, the stargate of your soul.
Mhm.
It's time to really lay down the sword and embody the peacekeeping, but also the sword of defense. We don't attack, but we will defend the innocent. We will protect the innocent, and we will defend the trespass on our sacred land. When we are in our heart's coherence and living from this state of divine love, the illusion and holographic simulation will naturally reorganize itself around your entire field. Mother Gaia will feel you and nurture you and protect you as she always has. And this is our call to daily practice and the mastery of love, no matter what chaos or destruction is happening in our outward reality. Things may get very chaotic and more than we see now. So to be the master of engagement of love, past the illusion, and to emanate creation and hold our divine visions strong of the new earth. As the new earth frequency returns through the Holy Universal Mother, we are to make way for the divine feminine compassionate leadership and restoring divine harmony and peace back to this earth.
So I have to tell you, Stellar, and I was alluding to it before we started today. I mean, all the summits are always like a birth, and it's at the very beginning, you kind of know there's a baby in there, but you don't really know what it looks like. And then at the end, it's all there.
Oh,
So the way that looks in a summit is that in the beginning, there's people that you know, and you invite them in and blah, blah, blah. And so you invite all of these people. And then this one, especially, everybody just started slotting in at the last minute. And the organized, just human part of me is like, how is this going to happen? How is that little baby going to get through that baby going to get through that tiny little hole? and but I knew better. I knew better than to say no to anyone, because it was all like we were already advertising before you and a lot of other big hitters even showed up and said, yeah, is there still time? And it's like, oh my goodness, what we would have missed if it's like, I knew she called you here.
Yeah.
Because all of us needed to hear what you brought today. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for saying yes.
Oh, well, my honor. And I saw that you invited me in May, and I didn't see the email until the 1st of August or something. Oh no, the 31st of July. I was like, oh my goodness, Kathy, I didn't realize you'd sent me this anyway, that you were like, yeah, we can still slot you in. So I'm so honored that you said sacred yes to this. And I'm so honored to be able to share my heart and the embodied wisdom that is really wanting to flow through all of us. Divine
right.
Mother needs back through all of us.
So before we leave, you have a very wonderful free gift called the Magdalene Code Special Edition Collection. Just let people know what they're getting, because that's a lot.
Yeah, well, they're getting the full Magdalene Codes album download. So they're high quality files. They're quite big files to download. You're getting the new Magdalene Codex, which is my first ebook.
Yes.
That's the kind of the whole ascension trajectory, the organic ascension pathway. Then I did a whole series as I was recording the Magdalene Codex. I did a series of rose meditation on all the rose temples in the quantum, the blue rose, pink rose, rose, white rose. So they're getting all those beautiful rose meditations, like meeting their beloved and the quantum and journeying together, like quantum galactic shamanic journeys, really for you to go deeper into the quantum and on the journey. And then the Magdalene Songlines is on there as well. That's me singing the dragon codes, the Magdalene Church at Rennes Chateau out through the land here. And I think there's a few other little bits and pieces in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I for one can't wait to dive in. So I'm making sure that everyone hears what's in there so that they know to take advantage of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Stellar. This has been amazing.
So wonderful. So lovely to meet you at last, Kathy.
Yeah.
A fellow co-author of our book, Magdalene Unveiled. And, you know, if people want to check out my retreats, they can go to magdaleneretreatsfrance.com. And there's all sorts of things on there. There's workshop stuff online and there's real life stuff here. So everyone's so welcome. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And